You are listening to Practical and Woo by Mindset and Manifest. I'm your host, Eden, and I'm so excited to offer you this bonus series called the CBRDBR series. This side series is a forum for us to meet interesting guests with unique perspectives and gifts discovered from lived experiences that are both practical and woo. Let's dive in. On this episode of the CBRDBR series, I'd like to introduce you to Abigail Rebecca. Abigail Rebecca is known as the Visibility Goddess. She is a human design leadership guide and an international speaker, and she has over 28 years of experience in mentoring thousands of leaders in Fortune 500 companies. She also serves clients of all kinds in her private practice. Abigail has worked with global organizations such as Disney, TUI, Royal Caribbean, Landmark, the Procter Gallagher Institute, and Soho House. At age 16, Abigail faced a life-altering decision: to remain disempowered within a religious cult or to embark on a path to freedom, cutting ties with her friends and family. She made the courageous choice to choose her freedom, which is an underlying value that aligns with every decision she makes to this day. Abigail is dedicated to championing freedom not only for herself, but for every woman in the world. Abigail's Illuminate method empowers entrepreneurs, CEOs, and creative changemakers to align their business strategy to their human design and to step into visible leadership in order to create extraordinary success with ease. Hi, welcome to the CBRDBR series hosted on the Practical and Woo podcast. I am so excited to have you here today. How are you?
I'm really, really good, Eden. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Me too, honestly. In our pre-meeting, I still feel the warm fuzzies from the talk we had, and I really do feel that the collaborative conversation we can bring to the audience today is one that needs to be heard, all about the practicality of woo, but more specifically human design and how to utilize human design to be better acquainted with yourself, your business, and your life. Before we dive in, I would love if you could share your journey of transformation and transition into you being the person sitting before us right now in this moment.
Yeah. I'd love to share, and I'll kind of consolidate it as much as I can, because it can, like with all our stories, that can turn into like really long, drawn out ones. But basically, my story starts when I was born. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I grew up in a very patriarchal, strict organization where I was kind of told what I could wear, who I should speak to. It was very controlling. I didn't have a voice. And I realized very, very early on that I just didn't feel aligned to it. Even as an early age, I didn't feel aligned to it. And when I was 16, as soon as legally possible, I left home. And I then went on this incredible journey. I traveled around the world. I kind of knew myself, got to know myself a bit more, fell into a corporate career, became very successful within corporate as a senior leader, leading teams. And developed quite a serious heart condition that kind of then gave me the opportunity to leave and start my business. And, I thought life was good. And then I started to grow my business and really, really had a lot of stories and worries and anxiety about being visible, about being judged, about being criticized, about being rejected. And I think, I'm sure many of us can relate to this story. But what it did is that growing my business really gave me access to look at that, to shine a light on it, and just really investigate and explore where was that coming from. And I realized that it was very much coming from my upbringing, being a good girl, not challenging anything, and a lot of fear of rejection. I think from my upbringing, I was rejected by my friends and family when I left the organization and made the decision not to carry on with it anymore. So it just took me on this beautiful journey of self-exploration that took me really predominantly back to self-love. And along that journey, I discovered many wonderful practices and tools that I still use now personally, and I also incorporate into my work, helping other women with their visibility. So human design is a biggie. You've already spoken about the fact that I'm a human design coach. It's incredible. It's transformational. I want to bring human design to the mainstream. I think, in years to come, I see a vision that we're talking about human design the same as we would do with astrology. What's your star sign? What's your human design sign or your human design type? So human design played a big part of it because it really helped me to discover more about me and start to accept myself and deeply love myself. I cleared a lot of my blocks through EFT, emotional freedom technique. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a huge Kundalini yoga fan. That's really helped me heal. And I think throughout my journey, it's just made me realize how grateful I am actually for my upbringing. I was interviewed by a journalist about it today, and I said there's no regrets. I really am so grateful for my upbringing, because me being brought up in that way and then breaking away and then the healing that continued after that has brought me to where I am now. So it's given me the capacity, the gifts, the knowledge, the understanding, the experience to be able to help others, to heal their trauma, really, and overcome the limiting beliefs that are holding them back from being highly visible. So I'm now a human design visibility coach. I work with entrepreneurial women all around the world. I help them to become more visible, to build their credibility, their presence and impact, so that they can also position themselves as a sought after leader in their industry. I'm a thought leader on Aquarian Age, Femme Leadership and Empowerment, and I'm a 4/6 projector. And I know that you know what that is, but it's my type within human design. So when you understand human design, you'll understand kind of what the elements are to that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. There's so much that you offer when you share the wisdom from your soul. I can hear you speaking from your soul as you speak about this, the passion for your journey and your offering to women to become visible in their lives, regardless of how they show up, is very apparent to me. And I love the way that you frame your journey. And even the second you started talking about it, I could hear the positive framework in which you hold your experience from a growth mindset, from a learning perspective of this is where I started and here's where I am. And everything in between has been a process of unfolding and a continuous development of me figuring out how I am meant to live my life in this world. And astrology, I love that you said that human design is going to become mainstream like astrology. I think it already is. I am a 2/4 projector, 2/4 emotional projector, adding that in as well. And yes, for those of you who don't understand the system, it is a little bit complicated at first. And I think that you can get the swing of things quite easily once you have the different subcategories of human design at your fingertips. So Abigail, why don't you share with our audience maybe a brief framework or overview of the different layers of human design, just so that we can then dive into the confidence aspects of how to navigate a chart and the visibility and empowerment components that can come out of a chart reading.
Yeah, I'd love to. Within my human design, and actually within my gene keys as well, I'm here to take complicated processes and make them simple and easy for others to understand. So this is what I love to do. So I always describe, like, if you're completely new to human design, I always describe it as, you imagine that Myers-Briggs and astrology became lovers and had a love child, and that's human design. So what I love about it, and I know that you'll really resonate with this, Eden, is that, I think both we have a lot in common in terms of, like, we both have a very grounded kind of executive, practical background. but then we're on this incredible like spiritual journey, and I feel like human design brings together those two elements. So of course it's a very spiritual, and it's a kind of combination of astrology and I Ching and the tree of life and the chakra system. So it's very much kind of like focusing on your energy. So it's really a blueprint of your aura. It shows you how you relate to people, how you build relationships, how your energy is received, how they receive your energy. So it's really an incredible tool that can be applied to everything. It's just that I decided to apply it to being more visible within business. But you can apply it to relationships, to friendships, to finding love, to raising children. There's so many different ways that you can apply it. But it's also based in quantum physics. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because there's also a practical application. So as well as a system like Myers-Briggs, if you're familiar with that system, and there's other kind of like systems that are used very, very confidently and regularly in, you know, hierarchical kind of corporate environments and similar, that is very accepted. It's a personality process that is based on you answering a series of questions. Well, this is a personality profile that's based on your birth, like your birth chart. So it's very, very powerful, and it's very precise. So you can basically use your human design and use it to really understand yourself more, to understand your gifts. And why I really, really love it is that it helps us to accept ourselves, to stop the comparison game, to stop comparing ourselves to others and then beating ourselves up because we're not like them. So it's often referred to as the science of differentiation. So it shows us how we are different to everyone, but then how we all come together and kind of work together. So it's almost like we're all working on a project, and everyone's got a little job on the project, and you just do the juicy stuff, the stuff that lights you up, instead of trying to do everybody else's bits of the project because you feel that you need to. So there are there's many layers, as you've alluded to, within human design. But there are 5 different kind of like types of human. So we've both talked about the fact that we're projectors. So there are generators, manifesting generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. And then there are different profiles as well within human design that give another layer and insight into who we are. There are different authorities within human design. So we're both emotional authorities. So it's best to make decisions when we're not on an emotional high or an emotional low. So this is what's great, right? Because it teaches that I know not to make a decision when I'm like, woo, I'm high on life, or when I'm like in the depths of despair. So it really helps you to regulate that. So it helps you to make decisions with your body as opposed to your head. And then there's other aspects within human design as well. You know, there's different centers that we have within our body, and dependent on whether they're defined or undefined, that kind of teaches us bits about ourselves and how we kind of communicate with other people energetically. It teaches about the environments that light us up, like the environments that we best work well in and create abundance. Is so aligned to law of attraction. It's just aligned to everything. And as you can tell, I am a bit of a fangirl about human design. So ask me anything.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. That was such a high level explanation of the system and the different components of it. So just to reiterate for our audience, so human design is a system comprised of 5, I believe, different types of modalities: astrology, chakra system, Kabbalah, I Ching, and quantum physics. And essentially all of these methods and modalities get summoned into this chart that can dictate to you, or to dictate maybe is a strong word, invite you to live as you are meant to be. And astrology does this too, but I find astrology to be more of an art and human design to be more of a stricter science around the exploration of these things. And so it's so interesting, especially what you say, Abigail, about the science of differentiation, or so we should say science of differentiation for our science fanatics. No, this is not grounded in Western science. So try to open your awareness and your heart to our conversation today, because honestly, for me, human design has given me the permission to no longer live in a way, or to continue to stop living in a way that doesn't feel good for me. And if you are privy to this podcast, living a life of pleasure and fulfillment is of the highest order here. And human design, and you can definitely speak on this, Abigail, I'm sure. Human design is really that blueprint that allows you to live in the pleasure and fulfillment of who you are, and gives you that structure and that guidance to shed the things that are not meant for you, and to lean and tap into the things that are. One of my favorite parts in particular is the way that the circuitry operates. And you can think of different circuits of electricity in the way electricity works, where wires are put together in order to make energy, in order to power certain things. And the same goes with the way that the human design system is framed, that your energy is meant to be in collaboration and connection with others in order to build projects, in order to make life work, in order to grow, be, expand, have, achieve, and whatever else have you. So curious to hear from you, Abigail, about your experience in shedding and deconditioning around human design. Yes. And how learning that you are a projector, for example, and your profile type has improved your life, and how you have been able to tap into this body of work to yield more of yourself and to find more fulfillment, and then continue to grow on that path in that direction.
Yeah. It's interesting, right, that we're both projectors, and predominantly I work with generators and manifesting generators, and that's really because like 70% of the population are generators, manifesting generators. And by the way, if you do want to know what your human design is and you don't know, you just head over to my website, abigailrebecca.com, and you can just you just need to put in your birth details and you'll get it immediately. And just it's free. And that's what I love about human design as well. It's free. It's free to access. It's available to everyone. But I digress, but I also work with projectors, because I think a lot of projectors are really interested in how I built a successful business as a projector. So just to kind of go back a few steps, we know this, right? We're all deeply conditioned from birth to be a certain way, and there's certain signals and directions that we take from our family, our culture, from society, from our lineage, from our schooling, that teaches us that if I act in this way, if I want to be, for example, a successful and highly respected leader, I need to work in this way, or I need to position myself in this way. And I certainly was no exception. Especially within my corporate career, I really felt like I had to initiate everything. We're very, very conditioned to initiate. And I think this is one of the biggest breakthroughs, actually, when people learn about their human design. We're taught to initiate to be dynamic leaders, right? So you've got to go out there, you've got to make things happen, you got to chase the sale, you got to get it, you got to do it. And actually only 9% of the population are actually designed to initiate. And they're manifestors. The rest of us are designed to wait, and we're designed to wait for something or someone. Now, at the different kind of human design types, the process is different, the strategy is different, but we wait for something. And I think that that was probably the biggest breakthrough for me as a projector, because as projectors, we take it one step further. I actually have to, you have to, we both have to wait to be invited in. Now that goes completely against like everything that I've been taught to do in terms of my career, my leadership, my business building. And I look back now, especially when I first started to build my business, you know, all the training that I had within the coaching community and the personal development training and things like that. And, you know, about how to build a business, how to be visible, how to make a sale, how to attract clients. It was all around initiating. And I had a real resistance to it. It felt really icky. And I was just told, oh, well, you're just resisting it. You need to step into your leadership. So I was continuously going against my design. And now I realize I'm not designed to do that. And actually, I repel people. You know, if I initiate, I'm kind of like perceived as a bit needy. And it can be very jarring for people and it can put people off. So this has been a huge breakthrough, right? Not only in my business, but in my life, kind of waiting just to sit back and wait. And I'm so conditioned to walk into a room and to be the person that's like, hi, you know, and now like we were just talking about, I've just been traveling for 3 weeks in Thailand and I was on my own. So I challenged myself to go backpacking around Thailand on my own. And I'm so used to traveling, but I've never actually done it on my own, like in that way. And of course, you know, if you're solo traveling, you want to make connections with other human beings. And I am so conditioned, even now, I'm so conditioned to be the person that initiates the conversation. And I really practiced my human design as I was traveling. And I was like, I'm not going to initiate the conversation. I'm just going to be here in my energy, you know, not feeling, oh, I've got to say something, you know, just like, just being there and then being invited into conversations. And oh my goodness, like the conversation is just completely different. So it goes from really superficial kind of, you know, to really deep conversations. So it's almost like you can use your human design to sift out potentially the people and the opportunities that aren't good for you, that you are going to use up all your energy and are going to drain you, and what you're left with is opportunities that are really incredible. So I find that strategy is just, you know, incredible for me. And then in terms of my business building and a client attraction, you know, I've applied all of that to my client attraction, and it's really brought me in. Oh, I just work with the most amazing women, like, and they're like, they show up and they do the work and they're really, really incredible energy to work with. They're not, you know, like, they're adults that, you know, like you hear about all the you know, sometimes I'll like speak to like my coaching friends and they'll be like, oh, you know, there's so much drama. And I'm like, where's the drama? There's no drama. Like, just, you know, align to your human design, and then you just attract things that are really, you know, incredible for you. So yeah, that's my experience.
Oh my gosh. I love hearing about that experimentation, and to hear about you going against the grain of what you feel so natural, like that you feel so natural to you, like to initiate a conversation out with a person that you might meet on a trip. And one of the metrics, I guess, of traveling alone is that you want to connect with friends and you don't want to be alone the whole time. You want to meet people. And so it sounds so counterproductive and so counterintuitive to say, okay, I'm going to just step back. And when you're so conditioned to be more front and center and less of maybe a wallflower, like if you're traveling alone, you are not a wallflower, right? Like you are out there, you are extroverted, you are on your way. And so to hear that you listen to your strategy, which, by the way, for those of you who are new to the system, there is a strategy provided to each type. You are given this strategy. And I remember when I first heard wait for the invitation, it made sense on some level, and I also was very upset. I was very upset, and that's a very common, I think, response from a projector because of the way our society is built. Is you go out there, you do it, you insert yourself, and a projector cannot do that successfully. Like, you can do it, and you will be bitter at the
Yeah.
result.
Yeah. And I think also, if we are kind of like like dynamic, capable, independent women, the thought of waiting to be invited, it feels at the beginning like a little bit subservient. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait. What? I just don't do anything. I just wait here. But then you do learn, like what to do while you're waiting. And like it does fall perfectly into place, but it does totally go against everything that we've been taught.
It's absolutely wild to get that attraction. And I'm celebrating you for those aligned clients to recognize the evidence of you being able to build a business grounded in your human design energy and having that experience of magnetic aligned clients coming in. And I would love to hear more about that. What was that process like for you to surrender to this, and how has your business kind of ebbed and flowed as it's grown into a successful, sustainable profession?
Mm. I really love to align human design to law of attraction. So I did a Facebook Live about it today, actually, like how, everything holds a vibration, everything holds a certain vibration, and we are attracting things in, and we can choose to be high vibe or low vibe, right? It's our decision to be like that. And this isn't about putting a band-aid on our emotions. It's about feeling the feelings, recognizing that we're human. Sometimes we get angry. Definitely for manifestors, we get angry. If we're projectors, we get bitter. If we're reflectors, we're so disappointed. And there's a lot of frustration from generators and manifesting generators. So we feel the feels, but then we can choose to kind of like, how do I choose to be today? And I feel that human design is a great tool for that, because what it does is, number one, it actually mitigates those feelings, because I personally feel very kind of like low vibe and bitter when I'm not feeling appreciated. When I don't feel seen and appreciated, I get very bitter. But then I go back to my human design and I'm like, am I waiting to be invited, or am I pushing and initiating? So that's my first question. So human design enables me to kind of go back to my strategy, which is to wait to be invited as a projector. So, and also I understand, I know we're going into a lot of detail here, but as a projector, I also understand that I'm not recognized by everyone. So there was a part of me that, if someone said no to me, like as in, I don't want to get onto a call with you, or I don't want to work with you, or I don't want to follow you on social media, I used to have huge rejection and really take it personally. And now I understand that as a projector, I'm not designed to be recognized by everyone. Not everyone will get me, but the people that do get me really appreciate me and really value me and will pay well for my services. So again, that puts me in a state of high vibration. So as I'm in that state of high vibration, I'm then attracting like the high vibration clients in. And I think that's the differentiator to that. And of course, it's not just like the knowledge of human design, it's all the other practices that we have, doing the things that light us up, that bring us joy. Kundalini puts me in that state. Like, I'm a trained personal stylist, so I love to fashion, I love to dress up, like, I've got a vintage kimono on, this lights me up. So it's me being aware of what are all the things that give me pleasure. I want to experience all the things that bring me pleasure. Travel brings me pleasure. I want to experience all of those. And then as I'm experiencing that pleasure and expansion, I'm attracting people in because they feel that from me. I'm carrying it in my aura. So they feel that from me. So they want to hang out with me. So
Mhm.
then I get invited onto incredible podcasts like this with you, or I get to coach in other people's coaching programs, or I get invited out for dinner, or I get invited to coach someone. So for me, that of course there's a real practical application of, this is like how you build a business, this is how you build an email list, this is, there has to be a practical strategy around building business. But the energy which human design completely supports and teaches you about, the electrical currents that you were talking about, that is what brings in the pleasure and the abundance and the pure bliss. And that's what we're designed for. We're designed for pleasure.
I think that is so beautifully said. Oh my gosh, there is so many seeds of wisdom coming in, and I'm finding myself so excited to go down so many pathways with this conversation. So thank you for bringing so much to the table right now. It's just such an honor and a pleasure to be having this conversation. I love what you said about that alignment to your clients and really using human design as a framework for self-responsibility. That's what I'm hearing you say, right? And when we are growing in our journey, so from childhood to adulthood and beyond, there are two streams of consciousness you can take, or two paths you can choose to walk. One is unconscious and one is awakened, or in the journey of awakening. And I love that you are really showcasing the importance of the awakened journey, which means I take self-responsibility. So if you're living a life where everything is happening to you, it'll constantly be, oh, woe is me. These people don't want to hang out with me. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? They're mean. There's a lot of blaming and shaming. And human design, and I'm hearing you reiterate this in your sharing, is that really customized framework that allows you to say, okay, wait, I'm in what's called the not self theme. I'm feeling bitter. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling disappointed, depending on who you are, right? And if you can say, okay, I know that this feeling for me means this, that means I'm not in alignment with my design. That one understanding opens up so much potential for you to make micro adjustments to how you're carrying yourself or showing up in your everyday life. And that is the linchpin to fulfillment versus lack of fulfillment. And there's so many things that, like, as we grow, right? I know on my podcast, every week there's a new idea of like, this is the underpinning, this is the linchpin, this is the crux, this is it. What about that? And it continues to expand, and it's like, okay, but what is it? And it's really that witness of, okay, so I am feeling this way, I want to be feeling that way. And then getting and developing the tools in your tool belt to be able to make that shift and transition in your mindset. And so I really am hearing you say all of this and using human design as that framework. And I feel just so incredibly lit up about it. So thank you for bringing all of this. What do you think is the biggest change or transformation potential for people? And how do you think it will affect society at large the more people tap into their human design? What do you think that ripple effect might look like?
Yeah, I think it will have a huge impact on society. I mean, we've moved out already from, this Piscean age where it was very hierarchical and patriarchal, and there was a certain amount of people at the top that had all the knowledge, and the knowledge wasn't shared. And now we're kind of like moving into this Aquarian age where we have access to information. We have access to the information on the internet, and the hierarchical structures are crumbling. And human design really aligns and supports to that. It's interesting actually, because that's why in the chakra system there's 7 chakras. Within human design there's 9 centers, and the reason that we've evolved into 9 center humans is that we are our own guru. Like the age of the guru is dead, and we are our own guru. We can trust ourselves, we can trust the wisdom of our body. And I think, when I was talking before about, I always kind of refer to, imagine that we're all working on a project, right? And so the manifestors get the project started, and they then hand it over to the generators and manifesting generators that kind of have the energy and run the project. So they kind of project manage it. And the projectors are there kind of guiding the process. And then the reflectors are there kind of sense checking and making sure that everything's working okay. So that is how all the designs kind of work together within the project. But then when you're kind of looking at it in deeper layers, then, you and I are both projectors. We're very different projectors. So maybe on the project, you would have one task that you would be like, you're in your juicy like element and abundance, and you're so aligned to it, and I'd be in a different task. So if we actually use that and apply it to the world, what will happen, and what has been, Ra Uru, who received the downloads for human design and kind of birthed it into the world, one of the things that he talks about is that, like, once you actually understand and you stop trying to be someone that you're not, the conflict will go. Because you won't, the ego will go. Like, you'll just like completely accept yourself and love yourself, and you don't want what someone else has, because what you have you're perfectly happy with. Now imagine if that would happen in the world. Would there be wars? Would there be conflict? What would happen? And I mean, I don't know. Of course, I can't predict the future, but I do think that if every single human being had a better understanding of themselves and other human beings, it would make the world a much better place. I think about my relationship with my partner. He is a generator. I'm a projector. We have a better relationship now because we understand one another's human design. A lot of the conflict is gone. A lot of the things that used to frustrate me about him, I now know I was frustrated, but he's a generator. So he has to, he has to do these things. It's like part of his design. And I understand that. And, I hear it all the time with clients. Like, they'll come to me because they want to be more visible in their business. They want to position themselves as, leaders and authorities in their field. They want to be speaking on stages, whatever they want to do. And it definitely helps them attract the clients and grow their business. But then they also say to me, oh my goodness, like, my relationship with my partner is so much better. And my kid, I really understand my kids. I understand my kids. And so I think it will give us access to being more kind of like accepting, loving human beings.
Yes, I completely agree. Like, just even on more of a microcosmic scale in your own friendships, your own relationships, the ripple effect, I think, will grow. For me, I know that when I'm talking to another projector, they will understand physiologically the difference in energy expenditure. So if I say, I'm an emotional projector, I need to take time to get back to you, there is more of an understanding and less of a crossing of the boundaries. I have projector friends that will still apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry, I couldn't get back to you. I'm like, no, you take your time, right? You follow your energy flow. And I think that just that knowledge and that clarity of other people and how they're built and how you're built allows you to be able to enhance even boundary setting, boundary setting, especially amongst women, often is something that needs to be relearned and practiced. And it's incredibly challenging for a lot of women to commit to setting boundaries and knowing how to set delicate boundaries without sounding passive aggressive, without, feeling like you are the worst person in the whole entire world because you said no, without feeling like no one is going to ever give you another opportunity or another chance again because you said no. If you can understand your design and that those boundaries are inherent within it, you can say, okay, I am committing to how I'm built, and I can explain to you how I'm built. I want to know how you're built. Let's meet in the middle. And I think these become incredibly important conversations to have.
Yeah. And that's why it's a non-negotiable whenever I work with a new client, regardless of whether they're coming on one of my retreats or I'm working one-on-one with them, or they're, like when they're actually working with me, it's a non-negotiable. We have to do human design first, because I need to understand how they work, how they're going to attract abundance, how they're going to show up and be visible, because my definition of visibility as a projector is very different. I work with manifesting generators. I can't keep up with them. I just can't. I don't have the energy. And that's another breakthrough for me, because I don't beat myself up. I used to beat myself up all the time about, I'm so lazy and I need to rest all the time, and non-sacral beings. So anyone who isn't a generator and manifesting generator, we don't have our own kind of energy resource. So it's really important for us to work in a different way. And that's a huge breakthrough. Like, I can't work consistently all through the day. I have to have rest periods. So yeah, it just opens up a real deeper understanding and acceptance and love for ourselves, and really understanding others.
Yes, I love it so much. I would love to know more about the Illuminate method. I butchered the name. I'm going to try again. I would love to know more about the Illuminate method that you offer in your business. I remember we briefly touched upon it in the pre-chat. I think it would be incredible for us to talk about on this episode as well, in terms of how you structure human design and the visibility coaching that you're an expert in for your clients, so that they can be led through this process to feel more confident and empowered and self-assured in their businesses and in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is a method that is, that I've created, that is based on my whole experience and journey, like navigating my life, working as a leader and coaching and mentoring leaders in Fortune 500 companies, and my work with my clients as it stands now. And it's really a process that I can take my clients through, that will really help them to just like have more confidence, in terms of their authority, and that how they position themselves, how they communicate, how they create wealth and abundance and happiness within their lives. And I've already said, like, the first step for that is human design, because it's very difficult to kind of build a visibility strategy if you don't know what your design is. So this is not a one size fits all cookie cutter kind of strategy. It's built on your own human design profile. So once we've worked with you on your human design, we then look at really creating like your big vision. Like, what is it that you want? What is it that you really want? If you removed all the barriers or all the I'm not good enough and it's never going to happen, like, what is it that you really want to create? And then we look at the resistance and the blocks, the stories, the monkey brain chatter, all the things that we do to talk ourselves out of stepping into a bigger version of ourselves. And very often the clients that I work with are very confident, capable, intelligent women. I work with a lot of women who have a corporate background, who are doctors, who are lawyers. But when it comes to actually stepping into their own visibility and maybe stepping up as a thought leader, and, there's a lot of worries that kind of stop them from moving forward with that. So we look at the blocks, we kind of shine a light on that and illuminate it and clear it through different modalities. One of the things that I've mentioned is EFT, a lot of coaching, a lot of kind of like coming back to ourselves and really kind of stepping into our bodies. And then when we've done that work, it's then time to look at, like, what's your visual vibe? How do you want to show up in the work? How do you want to look? How do you want your brand to look? How do you want people to feel about you? A lot of people that I work with, which I really love this, it's almost like you go through this transition and it's like you do the inner work and then you want to show up in a different way. So you want to maybe like really embrace a certain style or like, really kind of create something different visually. So we work with that. And then part of the method is to kind of support my clients in like whatever strategies that they need to develop to support their business, whether it's kind of like I don't know, like sales funnels or social media strategy or things like that. And I think that whole kind of method really helps my clients create something that is sustainable and most importantly doesn't feel like hard work. I think one of the things that really supports us within human design is that we do start to work with our energy. So there's a difference between like doing work that really that fulfills us and sustains us, and then doing work that is not, we're not kind of like lit up by. Mm-hmm. So there's always like you're always choosing the work that lights you up. Choose the work that lights you up and don't do anything else. That's my business strategy. Only do the things that light you up. Forget about everything else. You can delegate it or just don't do it. And it will all come together. But yes, that is the Illuminate method. And I go into a lot more detail on my website. You can just go and like explore on my website, and there's all sorts of things on there that you can do. And I have lots of free content, and I'm always creating like free videos and things like that. And if you feel called by this, just step into doing something else, you can see it on my website as well.
Amazing. I'll make sure to include all those links in the show notes. I love that you said, do what lights you up and throw away everything else, because we so often have a difficult time doing that. And that guilt that comes in when you aren't working the way that you've been trained to work your whole life and the way that your parents said you have to, and really breaking the barriers of what it looks like to be successful and what it looks like to have a relationship to yourself, to money, to the world around you, to be fully immersed in your creative potential, doing things that you are personally meant to be doing, I think is the new framework of living a successful life. And it's no longer about spinning your wheels on this hamster wheel and dog eat dog mentality of I am busier and more miserable than you, and so I am more successful at life. Why do we do this?
I always say it to my clients: hard work, hustle, burnout is not a badge of honor. And there's still this like culture of, well, I'm the one that stays in the office for longer, and I'm the one that's working at the weekends. And it's like, what, like, it's not like, how are you being productive? How are you bringing pleasure and joy into your life? So we need to step out of that culture, and we need to step into alignment, pleasurable work, pleasure in every aspect, and really only doing things that light us up. And that is your badge of honor. I get asked all the time on like podcasts that are more, let's say, kind of, more kind of corporate kind of leadership podcast, like, how do you define success? And I'm like, happiness. That's how I define success. If I'm feeling happy, then I am successful. So let that be the new, the new badge of honor, happiness and space.
Yes, yes. And some people are gonna hear that and say, no, but I need money to, right? Yes, if you ground yourself in the happiness, what happens, Abigail? What happens
Oh my
after?
goodness, the money just, whew, it's like it's like a huge magnet. It's a huge magnet. Here's the thing. If you can really get like aligned to your own like juicy being and really follow your heart's desire and be in that vibrational state of pleasure, the money comes in. The money comes in and it stays and it continues to come in. So, there's a lot of very unhappy millionaires in this world, but there's a very happy millionaires in this world. And I know what I would prefer to be. I think the happiness trumps everything, and then everything else flows in. But we're
Mhm.
not taught to do that. We're not taught to build business in that way. So, it's like it's a different way of doing things, and we've all got a choice. We can choose to do it that way, we can choose to do it the other way. Like there's no right or wrong. Like I'm just choosing the other path.
Mm.
And the same with human design hasn't been designed to put you into a box. You can either choose to introduce it into your life, or choose not to introduce it to your life. It's a huge experimentation. But what I would say is, even if you just introduce a few little things in your life, experiment with it and just see what happens. See if things show up in a different way. And I
I think
bet they will do.
Yes, I think that that is incredible advice. And I just, I know so many people struggle with, well, if I don't sit and chain myself here, then when am I going? It's like, okay, well, have you gotten there yet doing what you're doing? Albert Einstein defines insanity as what? Okay, so why don't you try to take a break and regulate your nervous system, right? Maybe that's the through way. You don't know. I think there's so much. I remember just my whole upbringing. There was always so much commentary around this rigid way of looking at the world. Even food, Ple- foods that taste good are always bad for you was a belief that I had in my head. Okay, I'm sorry. There are incredible amounts of food that taste good and are incredibly nutritious as well. And that's also a subjective kind of thing. What tastes good to one person will taste differently to another person. So to go around believing these absolutes is, in my opinion, so detrimental to your ability to get into that creative, imaginative, expansive state of mind that allows you to find the portals that kind of usher you through, right? How does this resonate with you?
It really resonates with me. I think it's really important just to be open to new things and new ideas. And, like, I'm sure that it's like you were saying, like, um, every show that's recorded, it's like, this is the thing that underpins everything. This is the thing that underpins everything. And there's so many things that are available and that we have access to. But it's interesting just to taste it. And if it tastes good, then, taste a bit more. And if it doesn't taste good, then that's fine. But we all have a choice. We have a choice. And every day we make a decision. We make a decision to be happy or to be unhappy. We make a decision to feel empowered or not empowered. We make a decision to, be responsible and not be responsible. And we also have decisions as to what we're going to try and not try.
Mhm.
But it's important just to kind of be open to things. I always say, like when if I want to, when I'm manifesting something, like intentionally, I always say, I want to manifest this, or send me something even better.
Yes.
Because sometimes the thing that I desperately want, if I'm so focused on that, I might be missing something incredible over here. So I'm just open to everything and all the possibilities that life can bring us.
I have full body chills. This is like, I'm so excited. I think you can hear in my voice. I think I started to shout. I'm starting to shout a little bit. So if it's assaulting to your ears, I do apologize. Uh, this is just such a juicy concept, and one that really lights me up. And I want to shake the world sometimes, because it's like, yes, your free will does always reign. You get to choose in every moment. I was reading a book, I forget what it's called right now. I can resource that if anyone is really curious. Just say, what was that book again? I will make sure to find it. But essentially, there was a concept in there that your net worth is directly intermingled with your self-worth. And this author took the approach to explore how to generate more self-worth in your life in a way that you could accumulate net worth. So net worth is more money in than out.
Yeah.
Self-worth is more worthiness in than out. So what are your daily expenditures in the categories and the areas of your life? And one of the concepts that she laid out was, oftentimes, if let's say you want to get healthy in your body, there is an inundation of information coming at you about, you need to do it this way and go to the gym this many times, and this is the structure. But again, as we're saying, is the science of differentiation. We're all different. And so this author said, actually, if you don't have the energy expenditure or the ability to go do the fitness class that will debilitate you for the rest of the month, right? You are actually doing a not worthy action that is spending your worthiness trying to fit an ideal that is outside of you. And I think that the way that this contemplation unfolded, I'm like, yes, maybe I want to go to my yoga class because it feels luxurious for me to do that with my body. And on the day I'm trying to force myself to go to this class because I think it will give me abs, one of those things is a worthy gaining, attracting action, and one of those things is an inhibiting action or a depreciating action. How does this resonate with you, and how
I
does
love
this
it. I
showed
love
up in your life?
yeah. I love the way that you've just described that, and that whatever book it is, it sounds fabulous.
I can hear it. Well, as you're talking, I will look it up.
Yeah, but the way that she's positioned it. But I think, if you're listening or watching to this, um, and it really resonates and you want to explore more about the coloration, I can never say that word. Like the synergies between self-worth and wealth, then I would really encourage you to look at your heart center within human design, because all the answers are there. So the heart center within human design is often known as the ego center, and or the will center. And it's all about self-worth, and it's very much linked into money, because it's like, how do I value myself? How much do I expect to be paid? How much do I expect my clients to pay me? How much do I expect, with that whole kind of self-worth piece? And if we've got an open or undefined heart as opposed to defined heart, then there's different kind of ways that we would feel about that. So my heart center is open. What is your heart center, open or
It
defined?
is open.
It's
Yes.
open.
Oh,
Okay.
it's undefined. I think I have a gate in there
It's
that's defined.
undefined. Okay.
Yeah.
So majority of my clients that I work with have an open or undefined heart center, and I do too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting to look at that trend, because there is definitely like an element of, I'm not charging enough for my coaching services, or whatever it might be, like the abundance, the money isn't coming in because of the way that I value myself. And that just then creates a beautiful kind of journey. And because my heart center is open, I'm very intuitive in that area. So it then makes me, a pretty good person to be able to kind of guide people through that, because I've also been on that journey. Very much kind of, linked, my self-worth has been linked to my value and the money that is flowing in. So it's a great exercise for creating wealth and abundance.
Oh, that's such good advice. And Oh my goodness. Yeah. I have so many more questions about that, but I do want to appreciate the time. So I think we are going to wrap up this conversation for now. Just so we know, the book that I was referencing is called The Worthy Project by Meadow DeVore.
Oh, what a name.
What a name. It's
Oh,
really
that's
excellent.
I want her to have like feathers and, you know, castles and kind of what a, what an amazing name. Zhezha.
Meadow DeVore. Yes. Uh,
Beautiful.
it's fantastic. It's a fantastic book, and the conceptualization in it is great. And yes, I do agree. I'm still in my trainee process of human design, and so I'm still getting well acquainted with the gates and the channels. And so remembering the nuances of each thing is still very much downloading into my being. And it's just so exciting to recognize that you can have these layers of understanding of yourself around these different subject areas, like worthiness, like identity, like how do you emotionally express, what about your monkey mind, right? Why is your mind always feeling like chaos? All of this is explorable in human design or in modalities of that nature, where you can see this energetic blueprint. And I just think that that is so cool.
It's so cool.
Yes. Just to wrap up, I would love to give you the last word, essentially. And what do you feel is the takeaway of our conversation today? And what is the most important nugget of truth, wisdom, insight, or whatever else from today specifically, that you would like to leave with us?
I think what's really coming through loud and clear, especially for me, is that, it's this word choices. We have choices.
Mm,
Um, and we can take responsibility for our own kind of external reality, the way, like, our the physical manifestation of the world around us represents how we're feeling about ourselves inside.
mhm,
Whatever you decide to do in terms of like the method, or the like the teachings around, really kind of doing that inner work and accepting yourself and loving yourself and valuing yourself, whether it's human design or something else. It's so important to do that work,
mm.
because it just changes everything. Like, if we can just switch and just make little tiny adjustments and change our perception about ourselves, um our whole world can change. And that's so powerful. It's not complicated. It's really, really simple.
I love that. Thank you again so much for being on the Collabradabra series with us today. It has been such a pleasure. Like, I am so beyond grateful to have had you and your insight and your knowledge and your expertise on this
you're,
episode.
you're welcome.
Yes. To our audience, if you are interested and vibing with Abigail Rebecca, I will make sure to include any and all links in the show notes. She is the visibility goddess. So if you want to become more visible, more empowered, more seen in your life, and to allow yourself to be growing on a platform that works in a way that works with your energy, then all of those links will be available for you to browse. Thank you again, Abigail, for being here. Until next time.